All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Capital Culture. I'm your host, Broadcast Wheeler, and today we are here in Miami, Florida, season 4 with a very special guest. But before we jump into that, if you've been enjoying the content, please make sure to like and subscribe, helps the channel. Now, with that being said, we are here with someone that makes the 305 go around. Someone would also call him the Humble King. Photographer to LeBron, YMCMB Records photographer. Yes, that is right. We are here with Derick G. How
What up, what up?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you coming and sitting down with me today. You are well renowned around the city.
Thank you, man.
So, we got a lot of good questions for you. Are we ready to dive in?
Let's go.
All right. So, I start my interviews off pretty simple question. Who is Derick G and how would you describe yourself?
Derick G, Latino, born and bred in Miami-Dade County. Creative all around. Photography was what got me through the door, but I've always felt like the urge to just always want to create cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of like where I'm at now, where like people see beyond the photography. So I guess it's all around creative.
What would you say in the last year your most favorite piece of content or thing you've been involved with?
It's probably this cool job we did for Urban Decay. I was essentially brought in as a production designer, which I wasn't a production designer, but essentially they just needed Miami aesthetics for it. And this girl, Danielle, walked into Oasis where we had just done our event back in 2023 for 305 Fest. And she happened to ask a good friend of mine's, Lydia, which is, she runs events over there. Hey, do you know any Miami-centric like production designers that can decorate and stuff like that? And that happened to be the Tuesday after the Sunday that we just did the event. So she's like, hey, check this guy out. I think he's your guy. Look what he just did on Sunday. And like right there, that happened in March, and we were locked in, and it went from just doing production design to essentially being her boots on the ground agency here. She's based out of New York, and I was just basically like an extension of her down here, and it's just all creative. I got to help design the activations, design the space, everything. Like they were like essentially just let me run free, and you know they'll pull me back when it's needed. But essentially they went with about 85% of the things that I brought to the table, and I mean I'm very grateful because essentially getting paid to do what you love, and you know add that to your resume, to me is amazing. So like that was probably like my favorite project of last year because I got to do a lot of stuff that I've done before but not really gotten paid for. It was just more for a look versus like now was like official, you know, official. And obviously that catapulted, you know, I guess I don't call it an agency, but just more of like, you know, creative individual for hire.
Yeah, because you've been in the game for, I think you've run your own business for the last 17 to 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say like the number one recipe to success is when doing that? And as you said, sometimes you got to pull yourself back a bit and listen to the client. What do you think you've been so successful?
From my experience, I've been blessed. I know my experience or my situation is not the ideal one for most people. You know, I consider myself to be very lucky and blessed that it's happened the way that it's happened. And I've essentially been able to do what I love and been able to sustain a lifestyle from it, right? I've got to travel the world doing this stuff, but it all started like, I guess, setting a value, right? If you create value, you know, those that need that value will embrace you. And I've always said it that the right people know, and everything comes around when it needs to. So sometimes it feels like you're just dragging and like things aren't happening the way you would want them to, but they're for a reason. So there's no real recipe. It's like, think about how like when we make food, everything is like to taste or like by eye.
Yeah.
I can't give you like a specific like, and mind you, everybody likes to eat their steak differently, right?
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things where it's like my perfect scenario might not be yours, might not be his, right? So I wouldn't say there's a perfect recipe for success. I just think it's one of those things where it's like you got to find what makes you the happiest first, and then figure out how to make money doing that, because there's somebody in the world that does that and gets paid for it. So why can't it be you?
What would you say to that 10th grader that found the camcorder in the bathroom now?
He fucking came up. Bro, like I would have never imagined like that in that era, finding that camcorder and, you know, essentially listening to the Hot Boys,
Yeah.
and you know, Juvenile and all those guys, and then to end up working with them on
Yeah. Full circle.
not even like it's more than a weekly basis, because I was with them like 3-4 times a week. You know, it's just, it's surreal. I've never been a starstruck person.
Yeah.
I've always been kind of very like level-headed when it comes to dealing with like celebrities. I guess that's why I've always been able to work with celebrities good, because there's no starstruck, I never step out of line, I guess. And I learned really early that if you act like a fan, they treat you like a fan. So once you come in, it's like, yo, I'm here to work. They'll give you that work respect. Like, yo, you're here to get a check. You're here to do your job. And that's that. You know, like I try to explain to like younger guys that are, you know, want to get into, this was years ago, because now it's like everyone and their mom's doing what I started doing back then. And it's like everybody wants to hang out with the celebrities. Everybody wants to go out with the celebrities. Yeah. Like, that's not the way you move. You just gotta come in, do your job, and get out. Like, you're not there to hang out, you're there to work. If they invite you somewhere, to a certain extent, I would say, you know, kind of see how long you've been around. Yeah. But for the most part, I would just keep it business, because I learned that if you start acting like a friend, they start asking you for favors that used to be paid jobs. So, yo, do me a solid, yo, can you shoot this for me real quick? But back then, it's like, hey, I need you to come shoot this. All right, send me an invoice. Absolutely. And now we're friends. Now we smoke together, we drink together, you party with us, da-da-da. Now it's like, hey, do me a quick favor. Yeah. So it's like,
you're speaking, it sounds like, from experiences or something.
Not for other people, just watching other. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I've been sober my whole life, but just watching it happen to other people. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I'm not getting caught up in that, you know. And like I said, my friends I grew up with most of them are 9-to-5ers. Some of them are entrepreneurs, but you know, not in entertainment.
Would you say from the friends that you know in 9-to-5 and entrepreneurs, are the friends in 9-to-5 more happy, or the friends that are running their own business more happy, in your opinion?
Once again, it goes back to like what the recipe is per person. Like I know guys, some of my friends are happy getting that check every 2 weeks or at the end of the week. Like they're good with that. And I have other friends that are like, yo, I'll thug it out for 3 months, but then I'm gonna get a check worth 6 months. You know what I mean? Got it. So it's like, I have a friend, a really, really close friend of mine. He did it really smart. He's always worked for somebody his whole life. And I think a year and a half out or a year out, he called me one day, yo, I want to pick your brain. He's like, yo, I think I want to like leave my job and like do this full time by myself. Like, you're the only person I know that I've grown up with that started like out of high school straight to, you had a few jobs, and I told him, I was like, bro, if you got savings and you have you live to your means, you're not like excessive, and he's not, like, you'll be fine. And if you do good work, like, mind you, he does such good work that one of his main clients is his old boss. Wow. So his old boss hires him as a not a consultant, but like as a work for hire versus having him as an employee. So he has the freedom to be like, nah, I'm not available, or like, hey, you know what, I'm good for this week. So it's one of those things where, you know, and then like I said, I have other friends that just want to, I work 9-to-5, 40 hours a week. I get my check, I have my weekends, and they're super content. They're super happy that way. Yeah. So I think it's not one of those grass is greener on the other side. I think it's this grass is greener where you water it. So, you know, like I said, there is no right or wrong one.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now, at the tail end, I think it was last year, you're getting interviewed, and you said something really interesting that caught my ear. The women said, you're finally getting some recognition, and then you responded, it's about fucking time. There sounded like there was some frustration in that answer. You want to speak on how far you've come, and before you broke through, how did you deal with that frustration?
I mean, the situation here is like, to locals, there's a lot of locals that do show me love and appreciate me and give me my props, and you know, I don't ever want to be put up on a pedestal, but I do want, like, I want my credit, right? Yeah. And then there's a lot of people that, and I've realized there's a lot of like, oh, why him, not me? It's almost like they're envious or they're jealous because we grew up in the same neighborhood, or we did the same thing, or we tried to do the same thing and I was successful and they weren't. Yeah. So they don't understand that my success doesn't affect them and their failure doesn't affect me. Yes. But if you support me as a successful person, there's chances that I can help you get successful. And absolutely. Subconsciously, not because, oh, you know, you're a fan of mine, I'm going to help you. Not in that case, but more so like, you know, I see you supporting me. I see what you're trying to do. How can I help? Hence, you know, my 305 events. I used to work with a team that does another event, and I would see all these missing gaps and all these people from the community that were missing that I thought were very important to the movement. And when I decided to part ways with them and do my own thing, I reached out to all of them and it's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Are you interested? Everybody's like, 1,000%. I literally got one no. Two, I'm like, I got two no's and they were from DJs. Everyone else was like, yo, I'm down. It was a proof of concept. It had never been done from my perspective, you know, from my end. And it was a success. So much a success that we had, you know, the second one was this year. And you were there, and it was on a Tuesday, and you know it was a phenomenal turnout. It was a Tuesday, like I said, for a Saturday it would have been a good turnout. For a Tuesday, it was fucking phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's just one of those things where now the community is like starting to like, oh, okay, I get it. Everything I could have left to New York or LA a long time ago, and been successful and done my own thing and fuck everybody. But I've always told people I want to pioneer here. I want to kind of, you know, set roots here because we're all transplants. A lot of us are first generation, right? So I was born here. You know, a lot of my friends were born here. Some of my friends were born in another country and then they were brought here when they were little. And then now we have like all these transplants from out of town, from up north and all that. And, you know, the opportunities are so much. And I'm in a position where like, even when brands come in, I'm like, stop flying people down. Hire me, I'll hire everybody here. If anybody fucks up, it's on me. But like, you're gonna save money on flights, you're gonna save money on hotels, you're gonna save flight on per diem, you're gonna save flight on Ubers. Pay them the same rate and you're still gonna save thousands of dollars. Yeah. And so to some brands, they get it. Other brands, and I understand, people like to work with people they're used to working with, people that know how they operate. So I understand that part. But then there's a lot of just like, I don't want to say back-end people, but just like a lot of people that do like stuff that's not that serious that you can hire locally and essentially put money back in the community and let that money circulate here because that's a big goal of mine. So like even my 305 events are to help build and develop that situation for locals and to be able to connect the dots with big brands and locals at a grassroots level.
That takes a lot of, I want to say, heart, because the thing you just said there is like, I could have just taken off to LA and had my own thing, but you held it down here, and a lot of people just do take off to LA. A
lot of my friends did.
So kudos to you on that. Now I want to speak to you about 2006. Florida really started to boom with, let's say, Khaled, Flo Rida starting, all of the big names. Do you see a similarity in 2006 to 2007 from people leaving California and other parts of the States and moving to Florida again? Do you kind of see it like
now? Yeah, there's a lot more people moving here. I mean, I know there's the big tech boom that's coming down here, but I hear that kind of, I guess, in the entertainment side, like not in Hollywood, not TV, not movies, but like when it comes to like entertainment in general, like California's kind of tapped out. New York is never going to be tapped out. New York is New York, but I feel like Miami, I guess there's more shit popping here.
Influencers are moving here, rappers are moving here, artists are moving here, everyone's moving here.
I mean, I think it's also the influence of like what happened during COVID. The entire country was closed except for Florida, where strip clubs were open, girls were wearing masks and be butt-ass naked. Like, you know, that, not to say that's right or wrong, but I think the people just seeing like the freedom we have down here to be human is a big part of it, I think. And I think people are just seeing like, yo, like we can get it in Florida, like we can get it in Miami. So I think that's a big part of it. But as great it is for those moving in here, it sucks for us locally because what happens is those influence and all these people, they're bringing their own people in and not giving local people their opportunity.
I was going to say, so does this influx of talent and people moving down here help or affect the community of the grassroots?
I think it's one of those things where like, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't, because obviously with new people brings new opportunities. I have a name in entertainment where it could potentially help me to a certain extent, but then it also, like, we're like, for example, to me, if it was up to me, I would stop allowing people to move to Florida or Miami, focus on the infrastructure because there's traffic. One of my main motivational things to be self-employed is to not deal with traffic. Because that 9 to 5 traffic in the morning and at night, and that's why people go crazy and there's road rage and all that shit. That was my biggest thing. Even on jobs, I would try to either be at the job before traffic or after 10, leave before 3. In fact, today, I want to be done by 4 so I can dodge traffic, right?
Got it.
But it's one of those things that now there's traffic all hours of the day in Miami and it's fucking annoying. So to me, it's like, fix the infrastructure, fix the roads, make sure that we have the space to move around, and stop building buildings. Because when you build more buildings but you don't build more roads, you're just allowing more people to move in here, but we still can't maneuver.
Yes. Okay.
So like that's like my thought on that. But I mean, if you're gonna come down here and you're gonna add to the community, I'm all for it. If you're just gonna come out here like try to like drain us dry and then on to the next one, like fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I kind of want to just reverse a little bit back. In the time LeBron was at the Miami Heat, you worked closely with him. Can you speak about how that came to fruition and your time working with him?
I mean, I think I worked with him a good, I don't remember the number at this point, but I worked with him a few times where like we didn't even talk to each other. I just shot him and it was like no one introduced us.
Yeah.
It was just very like, he comes in, gets his shots done, walks out.
Yeah.
We do events with him and stuff like that. And then it was this one, so funny enough, we're at Maps Backlaw on 24th. My warehouse used to be across the street.
Yes.
And we were doing a mural on that wall for when LeBron got the MVP. The Heat were in the playoffs. And one of LeBron's guys, Randy, came to see the mural getting done.
Yeah.
And we were chit-chatting and whatnot. And he's like, yo, you're the camera dude that's always like around us. Yeah. Like, and I was, yeah, I work with Beats, I work with Nike. That's how that Nike mural happened on the building and the whole nine. He's like, okay. And whatever. Then a few weeks later, I saw him again. And then at some other point, he was like, yo, he wants to meet you.
Okay.
Or we're doing a job for Nike through Game 7 at this parking lot. Was when he was dropping the LeBron 11s. And I got hired to put the content team together. And we were all there the day prior to make sure everything was good. We're doing time lapses the whole nine. And I saw the dude there and he was like, yo, LeBron would love to meet you. And I'm like, cool, I'll be here tomorrow. I'm here all day today and I'll be there tomorrow all day. And I knew that was his event. So cool thing is we're on the walkies. We get the call, hey, LeBron's pulling up. I call everybody, oh, camera team, go so-and-so, LeBron's pulling up. And as that's happening, LeBron's guy sees me. He's like, oh, let me go introduce you now. So it's kind of cool because I actually have the moment in photo and video of the first time we met and shook hands because my camera team was there documenting him. And it was cool because he was there for real, happened to just pull up at the same time. And it was just it was just a real organic, you know.
Through the industry, working hard and then.
And it was cool because I already had a name. So it wasn't like he saw me and was like, yo, I'm going to put this kid on. It's like I was already on. So him getting involved and bringing me on board was obviously it adds to my work portfolio and everything that I'm doing in my network. But I didn't need to. I was already doing good. I was already with Cash Money, Birdman, all them. So like I was already doing my own thing. But obviously it was a blessing to be able to work with him and lock in with him. So like I was with him his last year in Miami and his first year back in Cleveland. So I was in Cleveland for a little while too.
What was it like going back to Cleveland and getting that in it must have been crazy to follow him around and be able to embrace back to coming to Cleveland.
Oh, I mean, that was amazing. That was amazing. See, it was one of those things where it's like, it's a different world. It's a completely different, like, different planet. Like, Miami's a completely, we're on two different, you know, over there's very wholesome, very, very chill. Here is just mayhem. So it was definitely a change. It was definitely a change in pace. One of the funny things was, I was staying in Akron, and obviously they play in Cleveland. One of LeBron's guys that I became real good friends with, I would hit him up on the weekends because, like I said, I was out there for a few weeks. And I was like, it was Friday night, like 8 o'clock. He's like, yo, what is there to do tonight? He's like, are you in Akron or in Cleveland? I'm like, I'm in Akron. He's like, go get a slice of pizza and go home, buddy. And I'm like, all right, bet.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
so
like,
it's
all
really
right.
that slow.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure they have house parties. I'm sure if you're in the circles, you know what to do. But like, since I wasn't tapped in, he was in Cleveland, it's like a 45-minute drive. So I was like, yo, man, grab a slice of pizza and go home, buddy. It's like that. All right, I'm going to go home. So it was one of those things where it was like, it was cool to be able to somewhat live somewhere else. And saying like, I would see deer every day, which we don't see down here. Like we see iguanas, people freak out and they see iguanas here. We saw gators this morning.
Me too.
You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that's normal to us. But like over there, like I go to the parking lot of the hotel I was staying at, and it's like, yo, there's a fucking deer next to my car. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, a little bit different nightlife. Now I also, I don't want to bring up everyone that you've worked with, but again, this person's pretty hot right now, and I'd say she's at the top of the totem pole when it comes to women in the game. How did you come about working with Sexy Red, and how is it working with a top tier athlete compared to a top tier artist? Is this...
So with Sexy, I haven't necessarily worked with her.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 separate jobs.
Yes.
It was for the same thing, which was vehicles.
Yes.
The first job I ever did with her was through my boy Esdras Taluma's Photo T. Mm-hmm. He's an amazing photographer from Miami. He usually hits me up when he needs like cool props or cars or stuff like that. And he was shooting her. He had shot her a few times, and he was shooting her, and he needed a 4-wheeler. Mm-hmm. And then we brought the 4-wheeler to set, and I happened to be in my Cadillac. Yeah. And obviously that was the car I was driving for the day. So when we went to the second location, the car was just sitting there, and he's like, yo, do you mind? I was like, yo, go for it. And then that's how like those pictures are. And then the second time I got brought in for cars for the Get It Sexy video. So it was just coincidence. I haven't even we've talked like when she was in the car and stuff like that. But I got, yo, this is Derick. Like, it wasn't like I've worked with her. I've never shot her. I've never I've shot her on my phone and stuff like that. So I haven't necessarily worked with her. But I mean, she's really cool. Very respectful. She's probably the only artist that ever asked if she could lean on a car. Most artists are just entitled and they just do what they want. Okay. So and mind you, she asked like to the producer, and I heard her, and I'm like, man, that's cool. Yeah. Because 100%. But she was really cool, and then I mean, the difference between working with an athlete and working with an artist is, athletes, their body is their instrument. Yes. So they can't abuse it. They can't put substances in it. They take care of it. So I think they're a little bit more clear. Mm-hmm. They're way more structured, from my experience. Yeah. My experience, I gotta tell people, like when I was with Cash Money, they'll be like, yo, be at the airport at this time. I'd show up. They'd show up 7 hours late. You know what I mean? And that was just part of the game. I got paid a day rate, so to them, it's like, I'm on the clock, so what does it matter, right? Yeah. To like working with LeBron is like punctual. Like, I've said this before, where it's like, yo, be at my house at 9. I would show up at 8:45 to be safe. Yeah, absolutely. He's walking out his house at 8:55. So if I would have shown up at 9, he would have been waiting for me. That's not a good look. Not at all. And then he would be like, yo, we're done at 2. 1:45 comes around, like, yo, D, we're done.
So you're just shooting his day-to-day life?
Yeah, basically shooting what, like, the main cameras wouldn't see.
Documentary coming up? What was you gathering footage for?
Some of it when they had a Verizon thing, I believe it was.
Got it.
It was like content for a phone or something. Back then, it's like you get this phone, you have access to certain content. That's before content became what it is now.
Cool.
So it was like vlogging and stuff like that. But that's what that was back then. There's a ton of stuff that's never been out. They have it. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it.
Got you. Fair enough. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and get your opinion on, I would say, the music game right now. In like the past, I'd say 12 to 24 months, would you say the girls would be more successful than the guys in terms of making hit records? And what's your overall take on the scene of hip-hop in America right now being so...
I'm probably the worst person to ask this because I listen to everything. One, two, to me, the last new rappers were like Drake and Kendrick. Like after that, I don't know who 90% got. I just found out who that Mexican OT is, and I think he's fucking dope. And what's crazy is I would see him on the gram and I would swipe. I wouldn't pay him no mind. Yeah. And then I saw I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. I saw Joe Rogan interview him, and I'm like, okay. Now I watched the interview, and I'm like, yo, this dude's cool as shit. He's a great interviewee. And I was like, yo, like, I literally, as soon as the interview was done, I went on YouTube and looked his shit up, and I was like, yo, this dude's fucking dope. He doesn't look like the way he sounds. Yeah. And like now I'm like, okay, maybe I need to be more open and start giving more guys a chance. Because even the other artist, I don't know his name, that's on that Johnny Dang record, he goes hard, and I like Paul Wall. So like the old car rap stuff, I love it, to see like the slabs in the video and all that stuff. So I'm happy that there's guys like that, guys like Kodak, guys like Denzel Curry, guys like YG. Like I said, I'm a huge car guy, that they're incorporating cars back into, I guess, their culture. Yes. Because for a long time, it wasn't about car. It was more about Supreme and what you're wearing. Yeah. These guys are doing that, and they got the whips and all that stuff. And I mean, I come from like the, the bling bling era and the, Snoop and Dre era, where it was the car. The car was part of the uniform, right? Yeah. So
do you think that helps you operate a little bit more professionally, not knowing anyone who the new acts are? You just show up and you get your job done, or maybe it impedes it because maybe you're trying to meet an artist you don't know too much about them? And
I mean, not really, because it just depends at what level. Funny enough, in this exact space, I have so much history in the space. Yeah. So I love the space a lot. I shot Carol G here before she was anybody, and they were like, "Oh, this new Colombian girl. This is a documentary for like her story. She's supposedly gonna be huge." Very, I don't want to say basic, but just very natural looking. Very, cute little chick, whatever. We shot her, super nice, super professional. And fast forward 3 years later, she's this superstar, and then I got to shoot her again, and it's like full circle. Same thing when it happened with me and Cardi. I shot Cardi before she was even on Love and Hip Hop, before her Instagram was popping. She was tied into this agency out of New York that were friends of mine's, FaceTime agency, and they lined up a few girls for me to shoot while I was up there, and she was one of them. Her name was, I have her old number saved on my phone as Bacardi, because that was her name back then. And then to see her grow and develop and become from Love and Hip Hop to becoming this, rap sensation, to like, holy shit. I haven't seen her since that day. Funny enough, she records in Miami all the time, and I haven't been booked for any of that stuff, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's really, really cool to like.
Do you ever slide in a comment like, "Yo, you made it"? Like how far?
Nah, actually, I probably has no idea. Like, I don't know. Like, the couple people that I do know that have worked with her, that are friends of mine, I was like, "Oh, how is she?" She's like, "Oh, she's super cool." She's locked into her phone all the time, but she's super cool, super funny. So it's cool to hear that she still seems to be the same person she was when I met her. Because when I met her, she was funny as fuck. She was always joking around. I have a video on my Instagram of her doing pull-ups and like laughing, and she still has that laugh. So like it's really, really cool and really refreshing to see somebody that has made it that big and seems to still be the same person she was when I first met her.
Is there? I mean, we've heard so much about your success in this interview and whatnot. Has there ever been a time where you looked at yourself and you were close to quitting?
Quitting, no.
Walk us through those tough times, if you will.
It's one of those things where like you get tired of waiting for the next gig, because they're like, you can be lined up with 20 jobs, and you think you're good, and then you get to 17, 18, 19, and where's 21, 22, 23, and no one's showing up, and then you'll go 3-4 months without a gig. So it's like you get tired of the not having that security. I have a family now, so life's different. It's not just me. So it's like financially, it's a different thought process. So like in the perfect scenario, I would love to like essentially become like an Imagineer or something, where it's like you can essentially get paid to be creative. And it's like you're working on cool shit. Like I watch all these Imagineer stories on Disney Plus, and like these guys are like, "Yo, we're gonna build Animal Kingdom." It's like, all right, you guys gotta go to Africa for a month to go like just take pictures and log shit, and like, all right, cool. And then they get paid to go shop for that stuff, and it's like they're essentially building a world that's gonna make Disney millions of dollars. And like I would love to do that.
How close are you to that goal, would you say?
I mean, that Urban Decay job was. Essentially, that's a very good starting point, because like, oh, what have you decorated, or what kind of set have you built out? And I've done it for photography my whole life, or my whole career, but now I can be like, and it's funny because I don't do renderings. I literally do sketches on an iPad. So when I present to clients, it looks like a kid drew it. I have really ugly handwriting, and I don't know how to draw. But then I was like, when it's done, I promise you. And then I have it built, and I show them the thing. They're like, holy shit. Like, so like, I know it's almost like, when a kid writes gibberish, like they know what they're writing. Like it's funny, people's like, "Oh, you have doctor's handwriting." Because like, have you ever seen how a doctor writes like a prescription? You can't read it. So it's funny, like that's like even when I used to work, my last job was at a hospital, and they couldn't tell if it was my handwriting or the doctor's handwriting, because it just looked like shit.
No, I'm joining you on that one too. I have horrible handwriting.
I tell people that's why I became a photographer, because I don't have to write. I just push a button.
Exactly. Now, I feel like you might have touched on it in the interview, but are there anything that you're excited to share with your followers that you're working on this year, that you're like really? I know you do your live in 305. I did that. I came to that. It was amazing. Is there anything something next that you're very excited to share with the community?
When is this dropping?
This will probably come out in the first 10 days of May.
Perfect. So by the time y'all see this, I would have done F1 Miami for the first time.
So
shout out to
congratulations, yo. That's
shout out
crazy.
to Allison and Kat at Museum of Graffiti. They got me through that door. They pushed through for me, and I'm gonna do an exhibit of the racing. the history of racing in the 305. And I'm going to bring a bunch of artifacts out that are just going to, like, it's stuff that's like 40 years old and whatnot, but it's like local history. It's essentially the first race that, you know, if those races would have happened, chances are F1 wouldn't be what it is today. So it's like I'm going to be able to tell that story, and I'm actually going to tell that story before F1 does. So to me, it's very important.
You telling it almost.
It's very important to me. And actually, after we're done here, I'm going to go meet with them real quick.
Wow,
but yeah, I'm very excited for that. As a car guy, like, to get into like the biggest car sport in the world, you know, after that I want to try to get into NASCAR, but F1 is such a big show down here, and it's essentially like car Basel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I want to get my foot in the door, and like, there's so many stories to tell, there's so many artifacts to show, there's so many things and there's so many people from the city to plug in. So I hope that this is a gateway.
When you get a project like that, do you go home with the whiteboard and just start writing okay, I'm gonna attack this, or like how do you?
I'm a screenshot guy, so I start looking at stuff. Pinterest is my best friend. Google, I literally just start typing stuff in. I tried doing it with the AI generators, but it never gets exactly what I want. It does really cool stuff, and I have friends that do really cool stuff with AI that I would love to sit with them and like learn more, because they're able to like create what they want using it. I haven't been able to do it, but I'm also using the free tools versus I know they pay for the services.
Got it.
So it's understanding that. But I'm a visual person. You and me can be like, yo, you know, I want to paint my house blue. You alone have 4 different colors of blue on. What blue do you want? So it's like you can show me like, yo, I want this blue. So with me having screenshots, and like I do a lot of sourcing from like old magazines, and I rip pages out and like almost collage a mood board, and kind of that's how I even present like my decks. I find old ads that kind of have like a nostalgic feel that I think could be kind of like, you know, history repeats itself.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, at what era works right now, you know what I mean? Like, for now, Y2K is everything. Everybody wants to be Y2K, 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 you know. I'm 40 years old now. Y2K, I was 20. When the year 2000, I was 18.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember, like, when everybody was going crazy and the computers were going to crash and all that nonsense. But it's like now I realize that a kid born then is 24 now. So to them, that was like, yo, that's when I was just born. Like, to me, I was born in 83. So it's one of those things where it's like, I always tell people, like, I wish I was this age in the 80s, because I probably would have had more fun, but I also probably would have gotten into a lot of trouble back then too.
Yeah.
But it's like, knowing and understanding that history does repeat itself. It's just finding the era that works where you're going. To me, F1, even though it's a sport for all ages, the big players are in late 30s to like mid 60s, and they're gonna embrace that history because they remember going. Whether they went with their dad, they went as young adults. So it's that connecting that dots. And like I tell people, we can go to a museum.
That makes sense. Okay, seeing the threads of why it's gonna make sense to me.
We can go to museums. Like, funny, when I did 305 Fest, and this is the lesson that I learned, was we can go to a museum right now and go see something that's 300 years old and be like, oh, that's interesting, but we can't relate to it because we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But me placing a jacket on the wall that is like, oh shit, I have a picture of my dad wearing that jacket. So whether your dad's with us or not, it's a spark. They take a picture, they call their dad, yo, look what's here. It's like, oh, it's like, yo, I have that jacket. I still have that jacket in my attic. Yo, I used to have that book. Like, yo, here's a picture. I just posted a picture. Like that, you can connect to it and you could still remember. So I learned that short-term history has a lot of value that's not touched. People do throwback Thursdays of shit or flashback Fridays of shit that happened a week ago, which to me, that's kind of stupid. But something like, you know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, it was a different world. It was analog. We just started going digital. So a completely different world.
So when you get I want, for the viewers at home, when you get like a possibility to get the job with F1, like you've gotten it, and then let's say you're possibly about to start working with, let's say, someone like Birdman when you're starting out, what's the different ways you prep for, let's say, a corporate entity and then like a big artist if they ask you for something? Is it the same way, or do you have different methods for some of the younger people watching?
For corporate, there's a structure, there's a hierarchy. You learn that when you deal with corporate employees, that's what they are, they're employees. So they have to keep their job.
Yeah.
So to them, whether it's right or wrong, as long as they keep their job, it's different. Well, artists, they're 9 times out of 10, artists have creative freedom. If an artist is hiring me, it's mostly for documentation. So essentially, I'm a fly on the wall. Mm-hmm. So it's not, they might be like, hey, I don't like this angle, or like certain things like that. But it's 9 times out of 10 when I'm with an artist, they're not giving me direction. It's just like, do your thing. With corporate, there's a lot of back and forth. It's funny, the call that I just had now, I'm doing a job for a big brand, and it's like they want to know where the tables are going. Like, that's what they're worried about, because then when their boss asks them, yo, why did they put the tables there? Yeah. It's like, well, this was the reason. Like, there has to be, I guess, a hierarchy, patriarchy, whatever you call it.
Pecking order.
Yeah, it's just like they all have to know what's going on, versus when I do my own thing, it's like when someone comes in here for Live on 305, no one's questioning. They're curious, yo, why'd you do that? I did it because I wanted to. It's like, all right, bet, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
You know what absolutely. I mean? But yeah, so it is, for me at least, it is completely different working with just an artist versus working with a corporation.
Mm-hmm. We've heard so much how successful you've been. If there's someone behind the cameras watching from their computer or phone, what piece of advice would you give them to hopefully break through for someone who's, let's say, frustrated or hasn't really had their breakthrough moment yet?
Do what you love. Fuck what anybody thinks. It's cool to get other people's opinions, just so you can understand how people see your stuff. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It doesn't mean that you did a good job or a bad job. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's cool to understand other people's perspectives. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. Mm-hmm. But it's always good to understand how people see what you put out, especially as a creative. Mm-hmm. And then you also have to understand if you're going to play the game, like if you want to work for corporate entities, you have to you have to play the game. Sometimes, luckily, I've been in a place where like I can turn down stuff I don't want to do. I'm not doing it just for the money. So, and like I said, that's not everybody's ideal situation. That's not everybody's realistic situation. Like I said, I'm very lucky and very blessed for the way things have worked out for me, to where like I'll alley-oop stuff to my friends. Stuff where it's like I have such a friendly relationship with these people that I can't charge them because they're my friend and they take care of me with all this other stuff, but they need the service and they're willing to pay. So I'll put one of my boys down. Yeah. And it's a great relationship. My friend's happy because he's making money. He's thankful for that. My friend that's paying is like, yo, thank you for putting me down with your guy. Your guy's amazing. So, and then, hey, I need you to do me this favor. Whatever you need, I got you. Mm-hmm. So it's a win-win, and it's a very happy space to be in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like it's one of those things that you do what you love, and that's always been my thing. And not everybody understands that. Not everybody, and like I said earlier, for whatever you love to do and would do for free every day, if you were the richest person on earth, somebody gets paid to do it. There's no reason. Porn star, if you love to fuck, become a porn star. Like, that's as easy as, if you like food, become a food critic.
There you go. No,
you know what I mean? It's the thought is easy. Now you have to have the work ethic behind it and the consistency. And funny, I heard yesterday from Mr. Eats, somebody had asked him like if they had any tips. He's like, consistency and value. If you can be consistent and you can provide value, and I was like, holy shit, that was an amazing.
No, 100%.
You know what I mean? And it goes, not entertainment, not gossip, value. And that's his work model, and we've all seen his growth, and his growth is phenomenal. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where like I learn every day, I try to learn every day, I try to take in every day. Working with Rubio teaches me all the time. When we meet with people and whether he brings me on or I bring him on, I always say like our 10-year difference is important to me because he's tapped in things that I don't care about, and I'll teach him wisdom that he never knew existed. So like that's a great relationship we have, right? And it's never been where like he'll do something and I'll be like, yo, like you're being lazy, and he'll laugh because he's being lazy.
Is there something you'd say that you'd need to work on, or is there something that you're always trying to work on?
Me?
Internally? What do you need to get better at?
Being compassionate. I'm not compassionate at all.
Oh, you cold? Okay.
I'm not compassionate at all. I have a son now, and I've learned to like, to me, it's like, okay, he's a baby, he doesn't get it. I'm not compassionate with adults. And to me, so it's like learning to be compassionate, learning to understand that people go through stuff. And I might not understand, but I do have to have the empathy. I'm not empathetic either, and I'm working on those two things. It's like that's like a growth thing for me, to where like I want to be able to feel empathy for people and be compassionate about people's situations, whether it's small or big. So that's like a personal goal of mine that I'm working towards.
Okay. Well, to 2024, compassion and empathy. Last question, I just want to know to myself, do you still have your camera that your godmother gave you? You keep it as a souvenir?
Nah, I wish I did. And back then I would have never known that that would have turned into my, you know?
Yeah.
What sucks is, you know, selfies weren't a thing, so I can't even take I don't even know what camera it was.
Well, with that being said, Capital Culture, Broadcast Wheeler with the legend Derick G. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you coming into the show, man. Thank you so much. Shout out Rubio. Appreciate you too. See you in the next one.